touchdowns in their 40-14 win at a snowy Lambeau Field. But the Saints, they also had a big game on Saturday, showing no signs of slowing down as the season winds down, winning 52-33 against the Vikings. So here's what the playoff picture in the NFC looks like. The NFC East will come down to Week 17 to decide its champion. And the Packers, they got one step closer to the bye and home field advantage with a 40-14 victory, like you just saw over the Titans last night on prime time. All right, we got all the guys in the house. Morris Chestnut, Dominique Foxworth, excuse me, slight mix-up. Dan Orlovsky and Ryan Clark here. And Dom, I want to start with you.
Deacon Ryan Clark. You see Ryan with that band collar looking like a deacon.
Which team do you think needs...
I'm sorry.
Dominic, which team do you think needs the top seed more? Is it going to be the Packers or the Saints?
Well, I did let Charlie ask the question, and it's not my fault that Ryan looks like the deacon at church who always collecting for the building fund but don't never build nothing. I do think that the Saints need it more, because we saw the Packers last night in snowy conditions able to put up a ton of points and throw the ball as if they were indoors on a turf. I think that is a real legitimate concern for most teams who are not comfortable playing outside or not accustomed to playing outside. And they're going to be able to score with the Packers in that situation. So I think the Saints need it most. I can really only realistically imagine 2, maybe 3 teams out of respect for Tom Brady winning the NFC. It's either the Saints, the Packers, or the Bucks. And the Saints and the Bucks, I think, would struggle mightily trying to score points in those conditions up in Green Bay. So I think the Saints need it the most because their quarterback seems to be the one who is has aged in this situation in a way that he can't attack downfield and has rib injuries and could use that week off and could also feel a lot more comfortable in the friendly confines down in New Orleans. I don't think there's a question who needs it more in this division. I think it's the Saints over everybody. I think the Packers, they're an offensively driven team. Their defense has been they have stars, really great playmakers, but inconsistent, I guess, would be kind to what their defense has been. But I think that they can go in New Orleans and have no problem scoring with the Saints in the Dome. I think they could go down to Tampa Bay and have, not that Tampa Bay is in the running, but they could go to just about anywhere and be able to score with just about anybody. But I do think most teams would have trouble going to beat them in their home. So that, to me, means the Saints need it the most because they're the only other, I think, realistic champion in the NFC.
See, Dom, you basically had just made all of my points and then picked the wrong team. So you had the right line of thinking, but you were making your decision out of fear, like a kid on the third time saying Candyman in the mirror. That's not where we are. You're the Green Bay Packers. You need to be number one. And here's why you need it. Because you want all of those things you just said. I want you to have to come to Green Bay. I want you to have to try to throw the ball in this cold weather. Did you see Aaron Rodgers last night after he picks up a first down rushing the football, looking at one of the Tennessee Titans and smiling? Because he knows that playing there is different for him than it is for everybody else. He knows that I can cut this ball through the wind in a different way than Drew Brees can, than Tom Brady can, than maybe everybody in the NFC aside of Russell Wilson can. He likes that confidence. He knows that Devontae Adams, you saw them kept zooming in on Devontae Adams' feet because dude can get down on that heated field whether it's ice or not. But then you look at the way that they can defend with Jair on the outside, Kevin King on the other side, Darnell Savage, one of your Maryland Terp boys, becoming a star on the inside. It changes the game for them, right? Because now you can have that lockdown coverage on the outside because other people don't run routes as well. Their quarterback doesn't throw the football as well. And now the run game is different too, right? The thing I used to love when Troy would call me at about 8 o'clock when he was on his way to pick me up from the hotel because we got to the game way too darn early, he'd be like, RC, it's snowing. And what I knew was as long as it was snowing, people had to run straight. As long as it was snowing, the running game looked a little different. And that's what the Green Bay Packers need. And so it's not just about the fact that you don't want to go on the road, because I think that the Green Bay Packers can go on the road and be fine. It's the fact that you want to make everyone else come through Lambeau the same way Seattle had to do last year before you had to go to the West Coast and face a team that can get sideways with jet sweep motions, now come downhill with ISOs when they get using use check, or they have George Kittle rotate to the backfield and now be the lead blocker. You don't want to see those things. The game gets simpler offensively for everyone that comes through Green Bay. And that's what you need for this defense. And your quarterback and your wide receiver and your running back, they are better than everybody else in tough conditions. And so for me, it's the Green Bay Packers, not because I want to live in fear and I don't want to go everywhere else, but because I know I'm a dog in Lambeau.
Yeah, you know, you're lying right now. You know the Saints need home field advantage. I mean, there's a difference between need and want. Yeah, Green Bay wants it. Saints absolutely need it. Here's the thing. And you guys know this, when you look at the two venues, they both have strengths, right? Green Bay's venue is like, you got to come to the cold. They're 20-5 when it's under 32 degrees with Aaron Rodgers, and they blow teams out, right? So that's the strength of theirs. The Saints was the crowd noise, right? You guys know playing down there is impossible. That's not the case this year with what we're going on with the fans in the stadium. And so they're kind of the superpower of the home field has been minimized a little bit. Drew's got one road playoff victory. One. And I promise you it's not happening when he's 40 years old on the road in 30 degrees weather in Green Bay. And so that's why they need to be at home. And if you look at it like this team, before I think 2 years ago in that miracle play against the Rams, not miracle, but like unfortunate play against the Rams. And then last year with the Vikings going down there, they didn't lose at home with Drew Brees and Sean Payton. And so that's even been taken away. That strength has been taken away a little bit. Aaron Rodgers has got one loss at home in the playoffs. One. That's 2013. So you're looking at like that's a complete strength of his, and that's a strength of Drew Brees. Right. I just don't see any evidence that the Saints can go on the road, especially in Green Bay, and win playoff games. That's why Green Bay wants it at home, because it's a huge strength of theirs and a benefit. But New Orleans absolutely, unequivocally needs this game at home.
Yeah. I guess in this scenario,
scary.
Ryan Brock.
Ooh, y'all scary.
It's not about being scared. It's not about being scared. Here we go. Let me lay it out to you. I think Ryan in the first brought up Candyman. In this situation, Aaron Rodgers is the name that you don't want to say in the mirror 3 times. That ain't the boy that you want to see in the NFC right now. I bet you won't, RC. We go to commercial. I bet you won't go and look in your mirror and say Aaron Rodgers 3 times. I dare you. And it's not about being scared. It's about the facts of the situation. I can end this conversation with one simple question for you. Or 2 questions, I'm sorry. Can New Orleans go into a snowy Lambeau and win? And can Green Bay go into a quiet New Orleans Superdome and win? Answer those questions for me, Deacon Clark. And after that, I want to see the books on those collections, because something missing.
The thing is this. They both can happen. It's more likely that Green Bay goes to New Orleans and wins because we've seen them already do it this year.
I disagree with that.
I didn't hear the last part.
I disagree with that. I'd say this, too. If you look at the strengths of the football team, right? You guys know, what's the strength of Green Bay's defense?
Pass rush and coverage on the outside.